What I like to call it is tired tears. We start crying and someone says like, okay, what's going on? Maybe our spouse or maybe a friend or,
We don't know. We can't
maybe a
answer.
coworker. Yeah. And often women will just say, I don't know. I'm tired. I don't know. I'm tired. And that's tired tears. That means in fact you are emotionally exhausted.
I am here today with author, speaker Jess Connolly, and I was just telling her how obsessed I am with her. Jess, this new book, Tired of Being Tired, I saw that it was coming out. You were talking about it on social media, and I was so hungry for it, Jess, that I kept checking the date it would be released. I was like, I need it yesterday. I'm a mom, I'm working, I'm a pastor's wife, Jess is as well. I'm so tired. We need this book. But what made you go, now's the time, I'm ready to write it?
Unfortunately for me, what led me to writing Tired of Being Tired was just an absolute breakdown. I just had a spiritual, mental, physical, emotional breakdown in 2022. And at that time, I was actually supposed to be writing my next book. And I had this kind of fateful meeting with my publisher where they said, hey, you're supposed to be writing a book right now. And I was like, yeah, you don't want a book for me. I'm a whole mess. I am not the one. I am not the one who should be writing a book. And they said, okay, that's totally fine. No stress, no worries. They said, we are just curious. Like, what are you feeling? And what are you thinking about these days? And through a much longer conversation, I said, what I'm really thinking about is Matthew 11, where Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I've based my entire life off of following Jesus. I married who I marry because I follow Jesus. My career is based on following Jesus. I've had kids and raised them in the way that I do because I'm following Jesus. I live where I live because I follow Jesus. And this one thing that he said is not really proving true in my life. And also, all of my friends, every woman I know also seems to be exhausted.
Yeah, we're
So
all
there's
so
got to be
tired.
some disconnect.
Yes.
Yeah. So I said, if you'll let me kind of dig into that and figure out why that is, I'd be curious. And if a book comes out of it, great. And that's how Tired of Being Tired came to be.
What was helpful, at least in my own brain, was to divide exhaustion up into 4 categories to go, we're not just tired, we're different kinds of tired: physical, mental, spiritual, or emotional. Give us some bullet points. Obviously we know what physical exhaustion often looks like, but can you tell us how someone might be able to tell the others too?
The reason why a lot of us are staying tired is because we know what physical exhaustion looks like and we often know how to alleviate it, but we try to alleviate mental and emotional and spiritual exhaustion with physical rest and it just doesn't work. And then we're like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm still tired. That vacation didn't work. That nap didn't work. That day off didn't work. And it's because we're tired in other ways. So I'll start with the emotional exhaustion. I think it's kind of the easiest to identify a lot of times. And it's usually easy to identify because we find it on kind of a pendulum swing, 2 really different ways that people express their emotional exhaustion. One is that they stop accessing emotion. And this is sneaky because it actually makes us feel kind of proud if we're very stoic, if we can make it through a funeral without crying, if we can sit in hard meetings and not get flustered, if we can keep our voice very calm all the time. For a lot of us, we might feel like, that is maturity, that's spiritual maturity. And in some cases it may be, but for a lot of us, it's because we can no longer access our emotions, which is a sign of emotional exhaustion. The other end of that pendulum is we can't control our emotions, right?
That's where I would fall more often, Jess. Yeah.
What I find is a lot of women kind of swing from one to the other. And when we swing over to being unable to control our emotions, what I like to call it is tired tears. We start crying and someone says like, okay, what's going on? Maybe our spouse or maybe a friend or,
we don't know. We
maybe
can't answer.
a coworker. Yeah. And often women will just say, I don't know. I'm tired. I don't know. I'm tired. And that's tired tears. That means in fact you are emotionally exhausted. So that's kind of how those present in our life. Mental exhaustion can show up in mental fatigue, not feeling present, feeling like you made it through a whole day or a whole event or a whole holiday. And you're like, did that even happen?
It's a blur.
Was I even present? Do I remember it? mental fog, being unable to make decisions quickly, not wanting to make decisions, losing details, losing words. And I don't know about you, but a lot of these I think we blame on age or hormones or just a million different things, but also a lot of this mental fatigue we're just kind of volunteering for every single day through our phones or multitasking
Yep.
or having too much stimulation. So I would say spiritual exhaustion could look like maybe feeling bitter with people in your life. I call it MBN disease. If you're walking around saying must be nice, must be nice, oh, must be nice, they get to go on a vacation. Oh, must be nice, you get a day off. Or, oh, must be nice, you got a new car. You might just think you're being petty, but it might be also that you are spiritually exhausted and that you need to process some things with the Lord, figure out where you end and where he begins. I think spiritual exhaustion can also look like maybe compassion fatigue, feeling like you can't access feelings of hope or even tenderness or sorrow for other people. Or just anytime we approach our relationship with the Lord, feeling like we have to do something rather than it's something that we get to do. I have to go to church. I have to read my Bible. I have to pray. I have to serve. And once we get to that point, we're probably already spiritually exhausted.
Even as you're saying that, I'm going, oh, maybe that's what's going on with my husband, and maybe that's what's going on with my friend.
Yeah.
This makes us better relationally too, because I think there's
Yeah.
more empathy when you get maybe some idea of what someone's going through, and they might not even know. Okay, so we know that at the basis of a lot of these are actually spiritual things going on. And so I wondered if you could talk to that, because something you say in the book is, instead of are we loving God enough, you say, are we going slow enough to let ourselves be loved by God? So what does that look like? And if I've been a Christian most of my life, why do I not know how to let him love me?
A lot of those things as first of all, a response to God's love, just remembering I'm not earning it. I'm not trying to even get closer to him. When I say this, especially if I say it online, I have to be really careful. But a lot of times I will clarify, I don't even read my Bible to get closer to God, because theologically he has sent his son all the way toward me to bridge the gap. So I read the Bible to experience how close I am to him.
Oh, that's good.
But I don't do it to work my way to him, because he has come all the way toward me. So I don't pray to get closer to him. I don't pray to earn my righteousness or my relationship with him. I pray out of a response that, oh my gosh, I get to talk to the God of the universe.
I love this part in the book where you talk about how emotions are not good or bad. They're not even liars. They're just like indicators of what's going on, which is really helpful. And can you talk for a second about what you do mentally when you get jealous at your sister's house? Because highly relatable, and how we can actually learn a lot about ourselves by observing our emotions and what's going on in here that we might not say out loud.
I love that you brought up this part of the book. Honestly, it is one of my favorite parts of the whole book. And no one has ever asked me about it. And I'm like, no, y'all didn't appreciate that little script I gave you when you get jealous of your sister. My sister is a supermodel. I mean, she's the prettiest person you've ever met. She's also the nicest person you've ever met. People will often try to get me to say something negative about her. They'll be like, but is she really that nice? And I'm like, she's nicer. She's nicer than you think. She's that nice. And on top of that, she has a home that is always pristine and has literally been featured in magazines.
Wow.
She didn't pay a designer to help her do it. She just, that all comes from her.
Gifted.
So I walked through in the book, like, this is a script of what happens in my brain when I go to her house. Now I could just immediately beat myself up for walking in and feeling jealous. But when I start to understand that, right, emotions, and even the experience of emotions in our bodies, their synapses firing. And I have a choice to sin because of the emotion, or I have a choice to bless God and honor God with the emotion. And so for me, it looks like noticing, like, wow, I am really jealous. And then as quickly as I can, processing, do I feel like God doesn't do good for me? Do I actually want her to not have this blessing? Do I think she doesn't deserve this blessing from God? Do I think God will not do good for me? Have I actually decided to put my energy in a different space, and it's okay for me to bless her in this beautiful space that she has?
Mm.
And what would it look like now for me to bless God, honor God, and even experience the intimacy that I have with him by saying like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I had that rise up in me. Please help me to not act on it. Um, and then to use my mouth to bless her and say like, your house is beautiful. Now, not to defame myself and be like, oh, I could never have a house like this.
That's how
Not
female
to do that because,
conversation often goes, though, right? You
yeah,
go, oh my word, how do
yeah,
you do it? I can't do it. Like, we often do
I
that, and
could
it's a
never.
little
Yeah.
bit like normal. And I love that you're saying, like, let's not.
Yeah, because even that does not bless God. And it actually usually doesn't bless the person hearing it because then they feel a little uncomfortable, you know? So as quickly as I can, kind of letting my mind and my heart wander around those things without shame so that I can move forward, not obeying the emotion,
Hmm.
and not letting it be my master, but using it, yeah, as an indicator for what's happening in my head and my heart and honestly, a canvas for me to experience intimacy with God and speak truth and walk in some victory.
Ooh, I love that it's like quick to acknowledge what's happening, repent, and then go like, how, God, how can we use this? I love that. It's super helpful in the brain. And so that's not the
Yeah.
only script that you give us in the book. You talk about scripts and strategies for protecting your peace. And obviously we know putting less on the calendar, saying no, that's like helpful. But I didn't know until I read your book, Jess, that I always say sorry. I'm always like, I'm so sorry that I can't help you move next Saturday because I have like I didn't realize that I was apologizing for like having a life and boundaries and limitations. So
Yeah.
can you talk to us about how to say no the right way?
Yeah. It's such a big deal. It's such a big deal. So, one thing that I've just really tried to pay attention to in my language is anytime I say sorry, I try to pause and say, is this actually something I've done wrong? Am I actually doing something wrong? And if I'm not, then rather than saying sorry, I try to express gratitude. So, for example, if someone asks me to do something and I'm unavailable to do it, with a fun little caveat here of maybe I'm unavailable to do it just because I have some margin and rest planned, not because I have other plans, but just because I know
That's too much.
I am unable to do that. Yes. So instead of saying like, I'm so sorry I can't make it. I mean, I'm just such a mess. It's been such a busy season. My bad. I'm such a bad friend. Instead, I will say, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm unable to do it. Will you please ask me again? Just that simple. And the reason why it's such a big deal, I would say there's two big reasons that we not apologize when we haven't done something wrong, and specifically when we need to say no. The first is that I think that we have a generation of women who have a really hard time apologizing when we've actually done something wrong because we spend the rest of our lives apologizing for things that we didn't do wrong. So we apologize for walking in a door. We apologize for sneezing. We apologize for like needing someone to help us with something simple. We apologize for being human. But then when our friend comes to us and is like, hey, you actually hurt my feelings when you said that thing, then we're like, well, my intentions were pure. And we're emotionally exhausted.
My truth is that I did the right thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so hard.
I would never mean to hurt you, as if we don't often mean to hurt people. So number
Mhm.
one, I just think let's apologize for what we're actually doing wrong. The second reason why it's really, really, really important that we not apologize when we can't do something, especially if we haven't done anything wrong, is because that's how we change the world. That's how we
Mm.
help other women not feel guilty and not feel like they are doing something wrong. And so, even just by using our words to help other people, it's wild how people will begin to notice the gratitude in your voice when you say, "I'm unable to do that. Thank you so much. Let's talk about another opportunity." Or I'm unable to do that, and I might not ever be able to do it, but I'm very, very grateful that you would think of me.
And that it's just like a hard stop. There isn't an over explanation. And it even insinuates healthy boundaries, which I think we all need
Yeah.
in some ways. I am almost done with your book. I've been doing the audiobook because I'm a mama and things are crazy. And I have written down, because at the end of each chapter, Jess has these amazing tips for low power mode. So like realistic things you can do. And so at some point, Jess, I started writing down in my phone, like, okay, I need to try this. And I have a list on my phone that I'm calling habits to help. And
Love.
I'm overwhelmed by it though, Jess, because there's a lot of things and I'm still overwhelmed. And so I don't know how to take the steps towards rest. And so if anyone else is overwhelmed by even the thought of taking on the exhaustion that they have, can you share that encouragement of how when you had your first baby, your husband was like, one thing at a time? We need that.
Yes, I was really hoping you'd bring it up. It's chapter 13 in the book. It's near the end of the book. It might be my favorite chapter in any book I've ever gotten to write. And the reason why is because I'd given so many practical tips. I'd given so many steps to fight spiritual exhaustion and mental and spiritual and emotional. And I knew if anybody was like me, they were going to try to do all of them at once and then immediately sputter out of steam and not do them the next day, because that's what I would do too. And so I tell this story of how when I had my fourth baby, my husband came to me and, I came home from the hospital. I'm overwhelmed. And I'm like, okay, I gotta get back into homeschooling, and I gotta get back into exercise, and I gotta start making meals again. And I gotta figure my life out, and I gotta post on social media. And he was like, we're not doing this. I'm not getting on this crazy train with you again.
Thank God
we've
for
done
him.
this every time you have a baby. So he said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a list of the tasks that make you feel whole and healthy and awake and alive. And we're going to take one at a time. And he said, I'm going to actually forbid you from doing more than one at a time. And you're going to conquer doing that one task for a couple of days. And once it's easy and it's natural and it's a normal rhythm for you, you can move on to the next one. So literally, when I had my fourth baby, he was like, the very first one is brush your teeth. That's it. He
That's
said,
all
for a
you can
couple of
focus
days
on today.
I want you to brush your teeth. I don't want to hear you complain that you didn't have on a cute outfit. If you're wearing the same thing for 3 days, that's your business. Nobody's going to ask you to make your own coffee. Nobody's going to expect you to read the Bible. You're going to hold the baby, feed the baby, and brush your teeth. That's your goal.
So
I did that for a couple of days, and he was like, great, you've learned to brush your teeth. Now you get to shower. So now we're going to figure out how you can brush your teeth and shower. And we moved on from that. Now you can do your hair. Now you can read your Bible.
Yeah.
Now you can text your friends back. Now you can make lunch. And because I took them those little steps, step by step, and I realized, like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I wasn't getting immediately burned out. So I did the exact same thing in chapter 13 with all of the different practical steps for rest. And the wild and beautiful truth is that if women start small with those rhythms, let them become easy, let them become more natural, they'll actually experience the freedom and the healing, even from each little small step, and it will encourage them and inspire them to take the next one.
Really? Okay, because this week I'm just trying to drink my water. I'm a chronically dehydrated woman. It's not going great today, but girl, it's not over, okay?
I'm so proud. That is beautiful.
There's freedom in that it's not all on me and it's one thing at a time. Yeah. And okay, as we wrap up, I just want every person who feels tired to read this book. So can you share with us, how does your life look different since discovering these truths and putting them into practice? Cast that vision for us. I know people are hungry for it.
My life is still pretty wild. It's pretty full. I've got 4 kids. They range in age from 17 to 11.
Wow.
I lead my church with my husband. I write books, I travel to teach the Bible, and I run a small business. And I have friends, and I have a dog, and life is still really, really, really full. If you come over to my house, you're not going to find a hushed, quiet, gentle life. You're going to find a really full life. So the biggest difference now is I rest before I get tired. I do not work, and then say, like, okay, this has been a hard season. Now I need to figure out how to repair. Before I move into my day, before I move into ministry, before I move into kids, as I plan the week, as I plan the month, as I even just approach every single day, I'm looking at what does my body, what does my soul, what does my mind, and what do my emotions need for me to move into this. And that being said, at what I think might still be the surprising piece for a lot of people is I still do get tired. That being said, even with intentionality and even with thoughtfulness and even with planning and even with strategies and rhythms, I still live under the effects of a fallen
Yep.
world. And I'm not in heaven yet. And so my body groans and my mind groans with the weight of just being a person alive in the year of our Lord 2024. And so I still get tired, but I don't feel
Mhm.
shame about it. And
That's
I've
huge.
learned the kind of ways that I need to rest, and so I'll take God up on those when I need to.
The thought that rest is incorporated into your life now too is, I think most of us, we do not know how to rest until we're so far gone. It's going to take more than we even have time for to like figure out how to
Yeah.
get back to that center. And so thank you for living your life in front of us through the pages of this book
Mm.
to help us feel seen, uh, like get closer to Jesus in the pursuit of rest, and to recognize that that's a gift to us and that we don't have to
Mm.
live this tired. So thank you for spending time with me today. Thank you for writing it. It's already changing my life, and I hope everybody reads it.